I'm 34, cross-legged on my parents' hardwood floor in Portland, when Christmas splits me open. Chelsea twirls a set of BMW keys under the tree lights, silver flashing like she's 17 again, not 32. Dad beams. Mom clasps her hands and whispers, "A miracle." Out in the driveway, a white BMW with a red bow big enough to smother the hood. In my lap, a plastic piggy bank. The price sticker, $1.99. They forgot to peel off. "Open it," Mom chirps. I pull the rubber stopper. 2 crisp $1 bills slide out and land on my palm like a punchline. "It's the start of your future home fund," Dad says, waving me off. "You're responsible, not like some people." He winks at Chelsea. She laughs, perfume and entitlement filling the room. "Don't worry, sis," she coos, patting my knee. "I'll drive you places. Your little Toyota must be dying." My Toyota drove 7 hours through mountain passes last night. I paid it off 3 years ago. It's carried more weight than anyone here ever bothered to notice. Something tightens behind my ribs. 34 years of this, princess parties versus grocery store sheet cake, fully funded find-yourself trips versus my loans with interest, empty seats at my valedictorian speech because junior varsity had an away game. The pattern doesn't whisper, it roars. "Bathroom," I say. My voice sounds leased from someone else. Upstairs, I lock the door. Cold marble under my palms. My reflection too calm to be honest. $2, a miracle car, a bow the size of a small moon. I wait for tears. None come. Instead, the weight hardens. People talk about heartbreak like smoke. It's concrete. It sets. At 2:17 a.m., the house is quiet except for Chelsea's laughter downstairs. I pack. The bear from Grandma. My college photo album, a small wooden box with my first blueprint. The gifts I bought them, bracelet, lens, briefcase, stay. They were never about gratitude. My key hits the kitchen counter, a small, decisive sound. On I-5 South, snow thickens. Bing Crosby sings about merry and bright until I twist the volume to 0. Streetlights smear into halos, the heater wheezes. My phone lights up. "Mom, did you pay the cabin bill?" Not, "Are you safe?" Not, "Please come home." I drive anyway. Somewhere past the Oregon line, I pull into a roadside diner. Coffee, grease, heat. A waitress named Gloria fills my cup and studies my face the way nurses study charts. "Family or boyfriend?" she asks. "Family." "Blood makes you related," she says, setting the pot down. "Love and respect make you family." Her hand rests on mine for 1 second. It's the kindest touch I've felt in years. I look at the door. I could still turn around. I don't. Because this time, I won't just leave. I'll rebuild. And when they try to pull me back, into roles, into silence, I'll answer with something they've never heard from me. No. If you've ever felt like the responsible one who got the scraps, stay with me. Tell me in the comments what your $2 moment was, and I'll show you what I did next. My phone rings again. Not family. Monica. "Come to San Francisco," she says. "Family doesn't treat family like that." I put the car in drive. The line crackled as Monica's voice cut through the static of the Oregon highway. "Come to San Francisco, stay with me. Family doesn't treat family like that." Her words landed like a flare in the snowstorm. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, my knuckles pale in the dim dashboard light. My Toyota hummed beneath me, steady, loyal, asking nothing in return. "I can't impose," I whispered, though my throat felt tight. "Stop." Monica's tone sharpened. "You've spent your whole life being the helper. Let someone help you for once." Silence filled the car except for the slap of wipers against sleet. Something cracked inside me. Not loud, not dramatic, just the quiet break of a bone under pressure. "Okay," I said, almost to myself. "Text me your location every hour. I'll have the guest room ready." The call ended, leaving me with the echo of her firmness, a warmth my parents never gave me. I exhaled, letting the heater's weak breath fog the windshield. For the first time in 34 years, someone was telling me I didn't have to carry it all alone. The California border appeared just after dawn, the sign gleaming in pale sunlight. My phone vibrated against the console. 17 missed calls, 32 texts. Mom, Dad, Chelsea. I turned off the notifications. The silence was thick, almost holy. My stomach growled. A neon sign flashed ahead. Open. I pulled into the lot of a roadside diner, the kind with cracked linoleum floors and formica booths. Inside, the smell of bacon and burnt coffee wrapped around me. An older waitress with silver-streaked hair poured coffee before I even ordered. Her name tag read, Gloria. "Rough night?" she asked, sliding the mug across the table. "Rough life," I muttered before I could stop myself. Her eyes softened but didn't pity me. "Honey, I've been serving coffee for 40 years. I know heartbreak when I see it. Family or boyfriend?" "Family." The word scraped my throat. She set her hand on mine briefly. Her skin was warm, rough from decades of work. "Blood makes you related. Love and respect make you family." The words sank deeper than the coffee. I stared out the window, watching snow dissolve into droplets on the glass. For 34 years, I'd been related. Maybe it was time to find out what being family really meant. By the time I reached San Francisco, 3 weeks had passed. Monica's apartment smelled of lavender candles and safety. I slept for 12 hours straight, the first dreamless rest since Christmas. But the calls kept coming. Voicemails piled up, first confusion, then concern, then something sharper. My father's thunderous baritone filled one message. "Iris Elizabeth Collins, if you don't return this car immediately, I'll report it stolen." The Toyota, my Toyota, paid off with 7 years of checks, my name on the title. The threat burned. Mom's voicemail followed, dripping with accusation. "The doctor says my blood pressure is dangerously high from the stress you're causing. Is that what you want? For me to end up in the hospital?" I deleted them both, but my hand trembled afterward. Even silence had claws. Monica found me staring at my laptop one morning, cursor blinking over a half-written email. "Send it," she said, reading over my shoulder. "You've earned it." It was my transfer request to move permanently to the San Francisco office. No strings, no family favors, just my work, my record, my worth. When the approval arrived hours later, Monica cheered, genuine joy lighting her face. I blinked, unsure how to accept someone celebrating me without asking for anything in return. "You're starting Monday," she grinned. "Andrea from book club has an apartment for you. Rent control, safe building. You'll walk to work." "You didn't have to—" "I wanted to." Her tone left no room for guilt. Friends help friends. No strings attached. No strings. I had never known love like that. But my parents weren't done. The first video call came weeks later. Dad's face filled the screen, red with anger. "Where have you been? Your mother's been worried sick." Mom leaned in, eyes suspiciously dry, voice trembling. "How could you leave without telling us? How could you be so inconsiderate?" The old reflex rose in my chest. Apologize, placate, make it right. But therapy with Dr. Levine had given me words I never had before. "I needed space," I said calmly. "From family? From responsibility?" Dad snapped. "From being invisible," I answered, voice steady. "From being valued less than Chelsea. From earning love that should have been given freely." Mom's tears flowed instantly. "We've always loved you both the same." "I'm not responsible for your feelings anymore," I said, and ended the call. My hands shook, but not from fear, from release. Still, the past gnawed at me. Nights stretched long, filled with memories sharp as glass. My 5th birthday. Chelsea's princess party with pony rides and a castle cake, while mine the next year was a dollar bin banner and grocery store sheet cake. High school graduation. I gave my valedictorian speech to empty seats where my family should have been. Chelsea had a soccer game. College. I worked 25 hours a week while Chelsea found herself in Europe on their dime. "You'll always be fine," they'd said. Code for, "You don't need us." But I had needed them, and they were never there. Wednesday nights, I sat in a church basement that smelled of stale coffee, surrounded by strangers in folding chairs. "Family doesn't get a pass just because they're family," said Raymond, a 60-year-old accountant. His voice cracked, but his gaze was steady. "Love without respect isn't love. It's possession." The words echoed through me like a hymn. I traced the grain of the table with my finger, remembering Chelsea's condescending pat on my knee. Dad's wink. Mom's carefully staged tears. Possession. That's exactly what it had been. But they weren't giving up. Rumors trickled in through former coworkers. I'd had a breakdown. I'd joined a cult. I was living in squalor. Chelsea's Instagram posts painted her as the tragic sister praying for my recovery. The lies stung, but they didn't surprise me. What cut deeper were the family messages, carefully coordinated. Uncle Pete calling about forgiveness, Aunt Judith emailing about divine mercy, flying monkeys, everyone. At night, I sat in my tiny apartment, the futon creaking beneath me, pottery projects lined along the windowsill. The city buzzed outside, alive and indifferent. I whispered to the silence, Am I really ready to face them again? The answer rose from somewhere deep, somewhere steel had been forged. Yes. The ivory envelope sat on my counter weeks later, my name written in swooping calligraphy. A wedding invitation. Cousin Vanessa. No +1, just me, expected to fold myself neatly back into their version of family. I pressed my thumb against the seal, heart pounding. My therapist's words echoed, "Boundaries are the message." I wasn't the same woman who had fled in the night with a stuffed bear and a photo album. I wasn't just the responsible sister with the reliable car. I was someone new, someone they wouldn't recognize. And when I walked back into their world, they were going to see it. The rehearsal dinner loomed on the calendar, each day peeling away like fragile paper. I zipped my suitcase shut, my midnight blue dress folded inside. As the plane ticket glowed on my phone screen, one thought thrummed steady in my chest. This time, I won't be invisible. The suitcase clicked shut with a finality that echoed through my apartment. Midnight blue silk lay folded inside, my dress for the wedding. I traced the fabric once, feeling its cool promise under my fingertips. It wasn't a dress of apology or compromise. It was power, quiet and deliberate. The calendar squares had vanished one by one, each day peeling away like brittle leaves, until only the rehearsal dinner remained. Every tick of the clock was a drumbeat, steady and relentless, carrying me closer to Portland, closer to them. For weeks, I'd been preparing, not just clothes and plane tickets, but my spine, my voice, the fragile scaffolding of boundaries I'd built session after session with Dr. Winters. "You're terrified," she observed once, her chair creaking as she leaned back. I swallowed, counting the brass tacks along her armrest. "Terrified, yes, but ready," she nodded slowly. "Fear doesn't mean you're weak. Sometimes it's the clearest sign you're standing in truth." I had to stand in truth, because the past 7 months had been anything but easy. Every voicemail left by Dad, every guilt-soaked message from Mom, every carefully coordinated call from extended relatives, all of it pressed against the walls of my resolve like waves pounding a seawall. But I had built something in San Francisco. I'd built a home, small, sunlit, with pottery bowls uneven on the sill. I'd built a career, senior project manager, 2 weeks ahead of schedule on the Richardson Tower. I'd built a circle. Monica's laughter over takeout, group therapy in the church basement, Elliot's steady presence by my side, a hand brushing mine without taking more than I offered. And I'd built boundaries. Fragile, yes, but real. So when the ivory wedding invitation arrived, I didn't crumble. I booked a hotel, 4 blocks from the venue. When Dad insisted by voicemail that I stay at their rental house, I stayed silent. The boundary was the message. Chelsea had started texting, suddenly prolific, as though 7 months of silence could be erased with "can't wait to see you," and "we need sister time." Dr. Winters asked gently, "What do you think she wants?" I'd laughed, hollow. A ride from the airport, money, the old me, but the old me was gone. I ran my hands over the midnight blue fabric again, whispering to myself, "This time, I'll walk in on my own terms." The plane lifted into San Francisco fog, then broke through into sunlit clouds. Somewhere over Oregon, the landscape of my childhood stretched below like a map I'd once memorized and then abandoned. The forests, the rivers, the neighborhoods, they had held me once. Now they felt like a diorama, small and distant. When the wheels touched Portland soil, my heart thundered against my ribs. The city air smelled sharper, colder than San Francisco's brine and fog. My phone buzzed with a fresh voicemail from Dad. I let it go to silence, the way I had learned. Outside the rehearsal dinner venue, stone walls glowed gold in the twilight. I paused on the sidewalk, hand clutching the pendant Monica had pressed into my palm before I left. "Strength isn't about not feeling fear," she'd said. "It's about walking forward anyway." I squared my shoulders, opened the heavy wooden door, and stepped inside. Conversations faltered. Heads turned. My mother's hand flew to her throat. Dad's bourbon glass froze halfway up. I walked in, heels striking the floor, emerald blouse and tailored black pants cutting through the crowd. The diamond studs in my ears caught the light, deliberate punctuation. The room adjusted to me instead of the other way around. Chelsea approached first, her smile stretched, arms out. But the watch was gone, her hair roots grown out, her confidence thinner. "You look amazing," she said, hugging lightly. "Thank you." I stepped back, space intact. "How's the BMW?" I asked, tone level. Her eyes darted away. I traded it in. Honda now, more practical." Her words hung heavy, the first crack in a facade she'd always worn so easily. Around me, whispers floated like smoke. Cousin Tara leaned close with a vodka tonic. God, am I glad you're here. You wouldn't believe the drama. Your parents, they're selling the house. The words hit harder than I expected. The house, the photos, the walls, the staircase where I'd stood with tears locked inside me. Medical bills, they say, Tara added, lowering her voice. But everyone knows. It's Chelsea. They've been floating her for years. Reality caught up, even with them. Relatives circled. Aunt Martha hugged too tight, whispering, Your father lost his job months ago. Your mother's on medication. Uncle Simon clasped my hand. That job in San Francisco must agree with you. Senior project manager? Wonderful. Their faces blurred into a carousel of revelations, all whispered as if secrets could absolve decades of choices. Each story confirmed what I'd always known. My parents' pedestal had cracks. Their empire built on favoritism was crumbling. But I didn't feel triumph, just distance, as though I were watching waves crash far below from a safe cliff. Dad cornered me during cocktail hour, bourbon on his breath. Family sticks together, Iris, no matter what. I met his gaze, steady. Does it, Dad, or do some members stick together while others get pushed aside? His face reddened. We've always supported you. I let my voice drop soft, precise. $2 in a piggy bank. That was your support. He opened his mouth, closed it, walked away. Later, in the ladies' room, Mom appeared beside me at the sink. Her reflection in the mirror wore practiced sorrow. We miss you so much, she said, reaching for my hand. I continued rinsing soap from my fingers. I miss who I thought you were, too. The silence between us felt heavier than water. Chelsea pulled me onto the terrace, roses blooming below in the evening air. Her mask cracked again. The BMW got repossessed, she blurted. I'm drowning in debt. Clients dried up. Dad can't help anymore. Her voice trembled. I don't know how to do this, Iris. I never learned. Her confession was raw, jagged. 7 months ago, I would have thrown her a lifeline, money, housing, myself. Now I placed a hand on her arm gently. That sounds really hard. Compassion without rescue. Therapy had carved that phrase into me. I'm sorry you're going through that, I added. Her eyes widened. She had expected the old me. Instead, she got boundaries. I can help you make a budget, I offered, but I can't fix this for you. Her mouth parted in shock, but I didn't fill the silence. For once, it wasn't mine to carry. The night blurred into laughter and whispers, the hum of a family machine still trying to reset itself. But I felt the shift, subtle and seismic. They no longer dictated my role. By the end of the evening, whispers trailed after me as I walked out. She's different now. And they were right. Back in the hotel room, I laid the midnight blue dress across the bedspread. Tomorrow was the wedding. Tomorrow, the real test. I opened Vanessa's accidental group email on my phone, eyes tracing the seating chart she'd sent. My name sat neatly between Mom and Dad, directly across from Chelsea, a perfect tableau orchestrated to restore order. My throat tightened. Not rage, not fear, resolve. I scrolled to Vanessa's number, dialed. Vanessa, it's Iris. My voice was calm, deliberate. I have a small request about the seating arrangements. The next morning, the library door loomed heavy. Mom's tissues clutched, Dad pacing, Chelsea poised. An intervention, staged like theater. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't stepping in as the silent witness. I was walking in armed, with evidence, with memory, with the truth. The library door was heavier than it looked. My palm pressed against its polished wood, my breath catching as I pushed it open. Inside, the air felt staged, thick with expectation. Mom sat upright in a high-backed chair, tissues clenched like props. Dad paced by the fireplace, his movements sharp, rehearsed. Chelsea lingered near the window, her dress glimmering in the dim light like she'd stepped out of a catalog. Iris, thank God, Mom said, rising, arms half stretched. We need to talk as a family. I stayed by the door, the weight of their arrangement settling over me. The ceremony starts in 40 minutes. Dad's hand cut the air toward the empty chair facing them. Sit down, this can't wait. Every muscle in me wanted to bolt, but I crossed the room and sat. The chair felt deliberately placed, as though I were on trial. My purse rested against my leg like a shield. Chelsea spoke first, voice carrying the smoothness of someone who'd practiced. This has gone far enough. Dad lost his job 3 months ago. Mom's been in therapy for depression. They're selling the house. And it all started when you left at Christmas. My jaw locked. Of course. Financial crisis, Health, scare, guilt, the trifecta. Mom dabbed at dry eyes with her tissue. You don't know what your choices have done to us. The guilt pressed heavy, as familiar as my own name. For a moment, I almost believed them. Maybe I had broken the family. Maybe I was the selfish one, the cold one. Dad stopped pacing, his voice like gravel. You've turned your back on us, on your sister. Family sticks together, always. I dug my nails into my palms under the table, grounding myself. I forced my voice steady. I'm sorry to hear about your job, Dad. Mom, I'm glad you're getting help. Their faces twisted, not with relief, but confusion. Didn't you hear what we said? Chelsea snapped. They're selling the house because of you. No, I said quietly. They're selling the house because of choices they made long before I left. I reached into my purse and pulled out the leather-bound photo album, flipping it open on my lap. What is this? Mom's voice trembled. You called this meeting, so we have time, I answered. Page after page showed birthdays, Christmas mornings, vacations. Chelsea in tiaras, ponies, balloons. Me with sheet cakes, dollar store streamers, empty chairs. Dad's face flushed. This is ridiculous. We always treated you girls equally. The word equally tasted bitter. I opened a folder of bank statements next, laying them flat. My student loans, $67,000 I'm still paying. Chelsea's tuition, covered, including her year in Europe. That's not fair, Chelsea protested, color rising in her cheeks. You chose engineering. That was your decision. It was my passion, I shot back, just like art was yours. The difference is mine wasn't worth investing in. Mom rose, hands trembling. We didn't have the money when you went to college. Things were different when Chelsea... Don't, I cut in. Dad's promotion came when I was 16. The inheritance from Grandma arrived before freshman year. You had the money. You chose not to spend it on me. Silence. Thick, choking silence. I laid birthday cards across the table, side by side. Chelsea's gushed with love, mine practical reminders. Study hard, stay focused. Dad rubbed his temples. We always knew you'd be fine. You didn't need as much. There it was. The truth, naked. My throat burned. Being capable doesn't mean I deserved less love. Being responsible didn't mean I should carry everyone else's burdens. Mom's tears fell this time, real, staining her tissue. We never meant to hurt you. Intent doesn't erase impact, I said, voice flat. Finally, I reached into my purse and placed the piggy bank on the table. Its hollow thud against the wood cut through the silence. Dad stared at it, disdain etched into his features. What is this nonsense? I pulled the stopper. Dozens of crisp $2 bills spilled across the surface, scattering like leaves. I've saved one every week since Christmas. This isn't about money. It's about what you thought I was worth. Chelsea picked one up, her fingers trembling. I never realized how it looked from your side. Her voice cracked. They never taught me to stand on my own. The fight drained out of me. For years, I had dreamed of this confrontation, imagined their apologies, their recognition. Now, staring at them, Dad rigid, Mom broken, Chelsea finally fragile, I felt only exhaustion. 7 months ago, I would have begged for their love. Now, I wasn't sure I wanted it. I closed the album, slid the papers back into my purse. I don't want apologies. I want change. 2 conditions, family therapy and respect for my boundaries. Dad opened his mouth, fury rising, but Mom placed her hand on his arm. We'll do it, she said softly, surprising us all. Whatever it takes. For a heartbeat, something like hope flickered, but it was fragile. Too fragile. Because even as her voice broke, even as Dad's shoulders slumped, I felt the old weight creeping back. The pattern that had defined my entire life wasn't erased by one conversation, one pile of evidence, one demand. The guilt still clung, sticky, insidious. What if this wasn't strength but cruelty? What if walking away again would make me the villain in everyone's story? Chelsea whispered, She's different now. Yes, I thought bitterly, different. But different didn't mean safe. Different didn't mean free. I stood, purse in hand. My knees trembled beneath me, though my back stayed straight. The ceremony starts in 20 minutes. I need to take my seat. I opened the heavy door, stepping into the hallway. Laughter and music floated from the ballroom, a world away from the wreckage behind me. And still, a single thought gnawed at my chest, cold and merciless. What if I'm wrong? What if leaving them was the mistake that ruins everything? My phone buzzed in my purse as I walked toward the ballroom. A text from Monica lit the screen. Remember, truth doesn't crumble just because they deny it. You're stronger than their story. I stared at her words, heart hammering, as my father's voice boomed behind me. Iris, this isn't over. Dad's voice cracked through the hallway like a whip. Iris, this isn't over. The ballroom noise dulled, my pulse loud in my ears. I glanced down at Monica's text glowing on my phone. Truth doesn't crumble just because they deny it. You're stronger than their story. For a moment, I wanted to turn back, to hurl every word I'd bottled for decades. But instead, I inhaled, squared my shoulders, and walked toward the ballroom doors. My heels struck marble like punctuation marks, each step louder than his voice. Inside, laughter swelled, glasses clinked, music wrapped around polished chandeliers. Guests smiled, cousins waved, but I felt Dad's eyes burning into my back. They weren't finished, and neither was I. The ceremony unfolded like a dream painted over a storm. Vanessa glowed in her gown. Vows trembled with sincerity. Around me, relatives pretended everything was fine, as though nothing had cracked behind the library door. But I felt the tension radiating from the front row. Mom's hand clutching tissues. Dad's jaw locked. Chelsea stealing glances at me. I didn't shrink. I sat tall, midnight blue silk draping my frame, every inch of me a refusal to disappear. When applause rose, I clapped too, but my mind was already bracing, because confrontation wasn't over. At the reception, strings of lights glimmered over the garden terrace. Guests drifted between tables, champagne flowing like water. I sipped slowly, watching. Cousin Michael slid into the chair beside me, lowering his voice. I always noticed how they treated you, different, like you didn't matter. His confession landed like validation, but also like a weight. If they'd all seen, why hadn't anyone spoken? Aunt Martha hugged me, whispering, Your father lost his job months ago. Your mother's struggling. Try to understand. The chorus was always the same, excuses dressed as sympathy. But then Tara approached, eyes sharp. Don't let them twist it. We all saw. You were always the afterthought. Everyone knew. The words steadied me. Maybe the truth had always been visible. They just hadn't wanted to admit it. Chelsea found me near the rose bushes, clutching a half-empty glass. Iris, she whispered, eyes darting. I need you. The desperation in her voice was new. The debt's crushing me. Clients gone. I'm drowning. I studied her face, the same sister who once twirled BMW keys under a Christmas tree like a trophy. Now her eyes rimmed with fatigue, her designer glow dimmed. I don't know how to stand alone, she admitted, her voice cracking. I felt compassion, but not obligation. Therapy had taught me that distinction. That sounds really hard, Chelsea, I said gently. I can help you make a budget, but I can't fix this for you. Her mouth parted, disbelief flooding in. She had expected the old Iris, the fixer, the mule, but I didn't step into the role. For the first time, she faced the weight of her choices without me propping her up. Later, during cocktail hour, Dad cornered me again. Bourbon laced his breath, anger sharpening every word. You embarrassed us, dragging out photo albums, bank records like some court case. Family isn't a courtroom. I met his gaze without flinching. Family isn't a dictatorship either. His eyes flared. You're tearing us apart. No, I said, voice firm. I'm holding up a mirror. You don't like what you see. He stepped closer, voice low and seething. We sacrificed for you, all those years. $2 in a piggy bank. I cut in, my voice slicing through his. That was your definition of sacrifice. His jaw clenched. But before he could retort, Uncle Simon appeared, hand clapping my shoulder. Senior project manager, huh? Impressive. The interruption was salvation. Dad stalked away, muttering into his drink. I exhaled, my hands trembling only after he disappeared. In the ladies' room, Mom appeared, mascara smudged. We miss you, she whispered, reaching for me. I rinsed my hands, watching suds swirl down the drain. I miss who I thought you were, too. Her sob caught, real this time, but I didn't soften. I couldn't. By evening, the facade cracked further. Whispers rippled across the tables. Repossessed cars, unpaid bills, Dad's drinking. The Collins image of perfection was unraveling. And me? I stood on the terrace, breath cold in the night air, realizing the ground beneath me was solid for the first time. Still, the reckoning wasn't done. The next morning, Aunt Martha found me. Your parents are in the library. They say it's urgent. I knew. Another stage performance. Another attempt to drag me back. I walked the corridor, each step measured. Inside, Mom's tissues, Dad's pacing, Chelsea's nervous poise. It was all there. They spoke of job loss, depression, selling the house. Their chorus swelled. It all began when I left. 7 months ago, I would have broken, apologized, offered money. But I had come armed. Photo albums, bank records, birthday cards, all laid bare. And finally, the piggy bank. The $2 bills spilling across the table like evidence in a trial. This isn't about money, I told them. It's about value, about what you decided I was worth. Dad's anger faltered. Mom's tears fell real. Chelsea's voice cracked with realization. And then, for the first time, silence held them. I demanded therapy, respect for boundaries, conditions for reconciliation. Dad bristled, but Mom surprised me. We'll do it, whatever it takes. For a flicker, I saw possibility. Change, maybe, but fragile. Because as I stood to leave, Dad's voice followed, heavy with unfinished battle. This isn't over, Iris. I didn't look back. That night in my hotel room, I replayed it all. The confrontation, the bills scattered like snow, the way Chelsea's eyes widened at compassion without rescue. Exhaustion pinned me, but beneath it pulsed something harder, sharper. Resolve. Because tomorrow, the wider family would know. The whispers had already begun. The pedestal was cracking, and I was done being silent. Back in San Francisco 1 year later, the piggy bank sat on my mantel, no longer a symbol of worthlessness, but of survival. Around my table, friends laughed, real laughter, while my phone buzzed with a video call. Chelsea. My finger hovered, heart steady. This time, I got to choose. 1 year later, sunlight poured across the hardwood floors of my San Francisco apartment. Rosemary and sage filled the air from the turkey roasting in the oven. Around my table, laughter rose. Real laughter, warm and unforced, wrapping itself around me like a blanket. To Iris, Monica said, lifting her glass. Her curls shimmered in the afternoon light. Who builds bridges better than anyone I know, both in work and in life? Heat rose to my cheeks. I lifted my own glass, though words clung stubbornly to my throat. And to Senior Project Manager Collins, Elliot added, his fingers brushing mine under the table, whose team finished Richardson Tower 2 weeks ahead of schedule. His touch wasn't lightning anymore. It was something steadier, like current flowing quietly through wires, reliable, strong. A year ago, I'd placed my parents' house key on their counter and walked into a snowstorm with nothing but a stuffed bear and my own resolve. Now I was here, surrounded by people who chose me, who celebrated me without asking for pieces of myself in return. The kitchen timer chimed, and I rose automatically. Elliot followed, hand brushing my elbow. Need help? I've got it, I said, the words falling out by habit. Then I paused, remembering Dr. Winter's gentle challenge. Accepting help doesn't diminish your strength. Actually, I admitted, could you carve the turkey? I never learned how. His smile was easy. On it. That small exchange carried more weight than any argument I'd ever had with my family. It meant growth. It meant freedom. My phone buzzed on the counter. A video call request lit the screen. Chelsea. I hesitated. Then I pressed accept. Merry Christmas, she said, her face filling the frame. Behind her, I saw a modest apartment. No designer furniture, no glossy props, just life. You look happy, she said softly. Your place looks beautiful. It feels like home. I turned the camera to show the pottery lining my shelves, bowls and vases shaped by my own hands. Imperfect, but mine. She smiled faintly. Dad's 90 days sober. Mom's volunteering at the community center. They ask about you, not in the old way. It's different now. I swallowed, unsure what to do with that. Progress, maybe. A sliver of change. We talked a few minutes more before saying goodbye. I stared at the darkened screen, wondering if bridges could ever be rebuilt. Not on their terms, but mine. Dinner stretched into evening. Monica teased me about my clay bowls. Elliot toasted to surviving with style, and friends from work swapped stories. When the last dish was washed and the last hug exchanged, I stepped onto my balcony. San Francisco Bay glittered under the December night. Bridges arched across the water, lit in strands of gold. Buildings I'd helped design stood in silhouette. I wrapped a blanket around my shoulders and whispered into the dark. Worth isn't something you earn by being useful. It's something you claim by refusing to accept less. Behind me, through the glass, the piggy bank sat on the mantel. Not a joke, not a scar. A reminder. Filled now with crisp bills that marked weeks of freedom, of choosing myself. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Mom. A photo attachment. The dollhouse from my childhood. The one thing I had truly loved. Beneath it, deed transfer paperwork. It always belonged to you. I leaned against the railing, breath caught somewhere between grief and gratitude. Maybe change wasn't linear. Maybe it came in stumbles and offerings, imperfect but real. Elliot stepped outside, slipping the blanket tighter around me. Deep thoughts? Just grateful, I said, leaning into him. Sometimes the greatest gift wasn't what people gave you, but what you finally gave yourself. Permission to walk away, to draw boundaries, to demand respect. And to anyone listening, anyone who's ever sat with a $2 gift while someone else got the car with the bow, know this: you are worth more than their measure. Family is supposed to mean love, not possession. Respect, not erasure. Tell me in the comments what moment made you realize your own worth. Was it small, like a careless word, or huge, like a BMW with your name missing from the keys? I want to hear your story, because sometimes the only way we find our strength is when we finally say, enough.